All right. And we're live, I believe. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's me, Jackson, and we're going to talk about stuff and things today. Not necessarily in that order. So today, my guest is Random Evo Times. So welcome. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm a semi-small YouTuber. I make like semi-animated videos with like different frames where I draw stuff, and they're pretty short. So go check them out.
Yeah, definitely. You did a video about Hydrodomalus recently, right? The
Well, it
stellar.
wasn't specifically about that. It was about the evolution of modern Sirenians and also the effects on me.
Yeah, if a lot of neat stuff in there, huh? You're muted. You don't have to mute yourself every time.
Okay, yeah, I understand. The audio setup that I'm using is pretty poor. You hear an echo in my voice?
Oh well, yeah, but so did you find out a lot of interesting information on the evolution of Serenians? Random, you're muted.
Oh yeah, I was just hearing what I sound like on different parts. Anyway, so uh, what should we talk about?
Did you find out a lot of interesting information on the evolution of Serenians?
Sort of.
Sort of. um, what interested you about them that made you want to do a video on them?
Well, the Dapper Dinosaur actually commented on my video. He told me he wanted to do a video on. He wanted me to do a video on Sirenians.
Okay, so you take requests, huh, to make videos?
Yeah, sorry I'm constantly pausing. Just I need to hear what I sound like on other devices.
Oh, you sound fine. Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo, but you sound fine for the most part. Um, so you take requests for making videos, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh,
Okay, so
on my Discord server, I asked my people on there and if they wanted the next video to be of those evolution animations or like the next part in my human evolution series. And well, most people didn't respond. So human evolution it is. And plus, I have the script entirely ready for that video, so it's definitely going to come out this week. I'd say.
okay, that's awesome. So you did some videos on human evolution too, huh?
Yeah, even though that I'm a non-human dinosaur, closely related to birds, but you know, because my audience is almost entirely human, so I thought I would appease my human overlords.
Yeah, they're a bunch of darn dirty apes, huh? So your avatar, are you a microraptor?
Yeah, specifically the species Microraptor goji. It lived in the. I can't really remember the formation, but it lived like somewhere around 120 million years ago in China. However, I'm Canadian.
Yeah, I think that's the Yixian formation of China, if I remember correctly. Do what?
Oh, sorry, I'm constantly pausing. It's just I sometimes run out of air a lot of times. Actually, human decay.
Um, so a funny story. I actually met one of the researchers who figured out that Microraptor has iridescent black on its feathers, Dr. Julia Clark.
Yeah, and it's actually similar to the iridescent plumage on modern mallard geese. I mean ducks, which is what the StreamYard logo is. So that's a nice way of tying it together.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Full circle.
Do what?
It comes full circle.
Indeed. So
When you aren't using mic, your avatar is a circle.
right. Yeah, that's true. So uh so are you interested you're interested largely in more paleontology or zoology? Um which
I'd say evolutionary biology and taxonomy.
okay. What
But
got you interested
I
in
also
that?
know a lot like about certain groups, such as invertebrates and plants. Though I haven't been able to make a video on them, sadly, because nobody suggests them.
Yeah, we definitely could use more videos on invertebrates. They don't get as much love as the mammals. Maybe you could do evolution of say arthropods or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Yeah. Um, what made you decide to get or to start a YouTube channel in the first place?
I don't really know. I saw a bunch of other YouTubers doing it, and because I saw that the whole thing about creationism is kind of growing a lot, and I felt like I need to step up and do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a great way to look at it. It's both fun to do or for me to do the research on these topics because it helps me solidify my thoughts about these things, but also you're right to combat creationism. um I think when I was your age I didn't know creationism existed, so what do you think about creationism?
Well, it's kind of like really weird. I'd say
Hmm.
it's a form of religious extremism, and kind of feel like that it more like I can't really describe it, but it basically is like if people thought that fairy tales were real.
Yeah, yeah. I think in some ways that's true. It is a narrative, or it's based on a narrative that, as I understand from people who specialize in Middle Eastern or ancient Middle Eastern culture, it wasn't meant to be taken literally because I mean it has magical apples and talking snakes and all these sorts of things, and
Snakes are
that
nice, yeah, pretty nice.
yeah.
I don't know why people seem to hate them so much. They're okay.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's the some people don't want to get bit and they identify snakes as just going around maliciously attacking people or something like that.
Yeah.
But what about you? Do you have any pets? Any
Uh,
snakes? Anything?
no, I don't have any of them. I do have like a few mammals,
Oh,
specifically carnivorans.
dogs and cats, huh?
Yeah, two of each.
Or ferrets. Some people do have ferrets. Not a whole lot of people have bears though.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ferrets are sometimes called polecats, even though they're closely related. Even though they're more closely related to dogs,
mm-hmm.
they're Arcturians, like the relatives like weasels and otters.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You see,
um,
common names are very deceptive at points.
I agree. Yeah, that's true. Uh, what what got you interested in taxonomy in the first place?
I'm not really sure. Like, I always had like this fascination of like how things changed over time. Um, but when I discovered this site called One Zoom, it kind of opened up a can of worms for me because I like saw how much there is of life, I guess, and like how it's all related in this big interconnected tree.
Absolutely. Can I recommend you a book?
What is it?
Have you ever heard of a book titled The Ancestor's Tale?
Actually, no. I think I might have some vague memory of it.
Let me grab it right off the shelf over here. Hold on.
I never actually, you know,
Let me see if I can
read
grab it off the shelf. I'll
until
show it to you.
audience. Please stand by as he gets that book.
Oops. So, The Ancestor's Tale is my favorite book of all time. Here's the second one. But what I think you'll like about it is...
Ooh, by Richard Dawkins. I
Yep.
can't really see it on the computer because of the YouTube compression.
Oh, can't really see. Do you see the picture?
Yeah, it's actually,
It's One Zoom.
yeah,
He uses One Zoom for his phylogenies in this book.
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Richard Dawkins, The Ancestors Tale. There it is in the side. So yeah, this is my favorite book. It's also got lots of it's got lots of really neat glossy pictures in here too, as you may or may not be able to see. I don't know. You can see there's Sahelanthropus down here on the bottom.
Yeah, the compression really,
Yeah, sorry about that. Well,
yeah, that's
but it's on Amazon and also in Barnes and Noble. So if you're interested in that, this it's a fantastic book. He goes through everything from the evolution of humans to our common ancestor with all organisms on the planet.
interesting.
Yeah. My only complaint is he doesn't talk about dinosaurs really, but I have other books that do talk about dinosaurs, so I guess that makes up for it.
Yeah.
So your character, your avatar is a microraptor. So you like dinosaurs generally, or is it really more of the dinosaur bird transition that?
I'd say the dinosaur bird transition. Although basically all animals are interesting in some degree, including dinosaurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Microraptor, I think, is a very interesting one. Did you know it was predicted by paleontologists?
It was predicted in like the 1910s by, and it was called Tetrapteryx. And actually, in the Fantasia, it had like a depiction of it, the dinosaur section. However, it was discovered later on who was the original theorizer of its existence, died. But hey, we found my species.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad William Beebe didn't live to see Microraptor because, yeah, you're right. He predicted in the 19 teens and it wasn't discovered until 2003. So substantially after his death. But oh well, that's life, right? You know. Um. So, are have you done a video on the dinosaur bird transition?
Sadly, no. It's always seemed to be something more important for me to make a video on.
Yeah, I feel that. I've got a whole list of videos, and people are always recommending things, and I'm always getting new ideas for videos, and so the list keeps getting longer, and I can never seem to finish.
Already, the script for my next video is done.
Nice, awesome. Do you know when that's going to come out?
Uh, well, Hopefully that script is for the next video, because
Uh,
the next video is actually going to be like a little short birthday video for me, or I guess hatch day because
right. Yep. Because you're a theropod. Yeah. That's pretty funny. So that's coming up. Your birthday's coming up, huh?
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations. Um, Not mine though. Mine's a ways away still.
Yeah.
I, Peter, I can't really see what the words
Oh,
are saying on the top.
okay. I'll read it out.
Okay.
Dapper Dino says, "I'd like to see a video about the Dino Bird transition from either both of you, from either or both of you, Jackson Wheat."
Well, I already did one on that Dapper. It's titled Aviale, but I would like to see Random Evo Times cover that.
Yeah, I think I'm up to the task to do it, especially as a parade myself.
And I think you should do a collab. That's my input.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's also true. If you ever want to do a collab on a topic, I've done lots of those. Done with Auron, with Erica, with PZ.
We're doing a lot of collabs in the future.
Yeah, never hesitate to reach out to other creators and ask them to do something with you because the most they can say is no, right? So, or they could say yes, and then you can produce a super awesome video.
Yeah.
So in your research on Serenians, did you see what the closest relative of Serenians is?
It's the proboscideans, followed by the hyraxes, and then the other half of Afrotheria.
Yep. Yeah. Isn't that bizarre? Yeah. Well, for anyone who isn't aware of what proboscideans are, would you like to fill them in?
Well, proboscideans are basically elephants and all their relatives.
Yeah. Isn't that strange? Elephants are the closest relatives of manatees and the dugong. Do you find that strange? I don't know. I think that's kind of odd.
I think they fit in rather perfectly with the rest of Penangulata, as it's called.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen a manatee up close?
Not really, but I have seen close-up pictures, and I can clearly see that their quote-unquote fins are actually derived elephantine feet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. The closest relatives or the earliest elephants and the earliest Serenians um, are very similar to each other. It's kind of peculiar. And uh, I went to the Dallas Aquarium and they have a manatee there, and manatees are big. I never thought about really how big manatees are, but they're kind of like people call them sea cows. I think we should call them river elephants because they're huge. Manatees are enormous animals. Like they're very elephantine in size.
Also, that would be more taxonomically accurate because, uh, cows are closer related to foxes and other carnivores than they are to, actual sea cows.
Yeah, man. Whoever came up with these common names, they need to be taken out, huh? Polecats, sea cows. They're not doing us any favors. So, oh well. But that's life, right? Um, but Hyraxes are also there, so they're kind of like Hyraxes are kind of like little elephants, and manatees are like river elephants.
Do you want me to fill more about? Do you want me to fill in more about myself now?
Sure, go ahead.
If you didn't know, I'm actually an atheist. Pretty unsurprising, right? I've actually always been an atheist because I was luckily hatched into a secular family.
Okay.
Paraves. Yeah.
The secular paraves. Ah, that's interesting. Um, okay. Well, yeah, I would agree with you there. I'm not a believer myself. Um, but I don't do anything about it on my channel. There are other people like Aaron and Matt Dillahunty who do all of
Be
those.
as friendly as possible. I almost never, and I plan on never bringing up, in my videos. Although
Yeah,
I, although I will mention religious extremism in the form of creationism.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
Or,
for
or
me.
or I suppose, would you ever think about doing maybe a video on the evolutionary origins of religion, like maybe it was naturally selected, or the reasons it was naturally selected?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know there are lots of books on that topic. I haven't really looked into it that much, though. Um, are there any books that you like on evolution or paleontology?
Well, you of course have the origin of species, and I don't really know what else, but
Have you read it?
well, I'd say I've gone through like 60% of it.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So, what would you say so far is or do you like it? Do you think that it is sort of a good overview of evolution?
Yeah, however, it has some flaws because it's the first of its sort.
Yep, that's true. Um, you know, one of the things I really liked about the book was that uh, you know how Aaron Ra has his phylogeny challenge. Are you familiar with the phylogeny challenge?
Yeah, I am familiar. Um,
Uh, so the chapter 2 of Origin of Species is basically the phylogeny challenge, but in Darwin's day, because Darwin pointed out that at the time, he was arguing that speciation happens, whereas today it's more like does speciation happen lots of times, and so he sort of put a version of the phylogeny challenge forward back in the 1850s, and I found that to be very interesting. Um,
mhm. Although I kind of don't remember because the last time that I read chapter 2 was so long ago that I probably didn't pick up on it now.
That's all right. It's a very dry book. I've read most of Descent of Man. I did read The Voyage of the Beagle, and that was his whole travel around the world from 1831 to 1836. And I think you might like that one. It was a little funny. Darwin talks about how he threw an iguana into a pool while he was on the Galapagos, or he impeded a penguin from reaching the ocean.
Yeah, that was sort of animal abuse, but then again,
Yeah, yeah,
probably was the first time any Westerner ever experienced these sort of beings.
yeah, yeah. His harassing poor little defenseless animals. Yeah, it's I mean, it's kind of interesting how far Darwin got, in his day, given what he had, compared to all the stuff that we have now. I would think. I suppose if I would recommend you another book, you said you like dinosaurs and your avatar is Microraptor. Have you ever read or Darren Naish is a guy who he's a tetrapod zoologist and he writes books on dinosaurs predominantly, and so he's got a couple of really neat books. If you would want to check any of those out.
Yeah, I think I have actually read one of them, although I didn't necessarily get that far.
Yeah, yeah, they're very nice. There was one that came out just this past year, which was solely about I believe it was theropods. The whole book is just about theropods and some of the early proto dinosaurs. Which proto dinosaurs? That's another group we could make a video about if you wanted.
Yeah, maybe we could throw pterosaurs into the mix in that video because
There you go.
they also proto dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're part of that whole pre-dinosaur archosaur group.
One of Federa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, and that's and see that's kind of one of the things that always makes me so upset about creationists is when they say like things just come into the fossil record and stay the same, right? We have this whole transitional sequence, and yet they never talk about it, right?
If my channel gets popular enough, I might actually make a book
Oh, about what?
about like defining kinds, like a kind catalog.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely should. So have you read much of the creationist uh, baraminology or the any of their kind literature?
Not really.
Um, RJ and I discussed a bit of it in our book, The Rocks Were There, but we sort of kind of gave a sort of broad overview on it. It would be a very good idea for someone like yourself to go more in depth and hit baraminology, their kind science, their pseudoscience, on a more in depth level than we covered it. So yeah, that'd be a very good idea. Um, and then you mentioned earlier that you hadn't really done much on invertebrates or plants yet. Well, creationists, as far as I've seen, almost never do anything on invertebrates or plants. And so if you did something in that area, you definitely have a leg up over them on that stuff.
I actually once like did like a meme or something about it, where it was like the plants and invertebrates were saying, "Oh, come on, we need to board the ark." However, Noah was like, "No, you can't do that because AIG says that you can't board."
Yeah, they really don't like the arthropods. They're the whole concept of kinds. They really only apply to tetrapods and really largely mostly just mammals. Um, they sort of give a whole
Biased.
do what?
They're very tetrapod biased. Like most people, we tend to focus on tetrapods mostly, which is pretty sad because you know not everything because not everything that lacks nostrils is of course going to survive under kilometers of water for 1 year straight.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a book that is thousands of years old, and these guys are trying to they're trying to construct allegories about what would happen if you disobey God and all that. And creationists are taking it literally as though this were actual science. They're trying to construct whole fields of science based on it. And it's just silly.
Yeah, the whole thing about I was saying earlier that was basically just like imagining that fairy tales were real. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And it's uh, I don't know if you do you deal with creationists coming to your channel very often, or not yet, or what
Not
would you
yet.
say? Ah, well, they will come. They'll get there eventually. I used to not have creationist commenters, and now they're or trolls really.
And
And
this is time to what Gutsy Gibbon calls to shill, which is to advertise to all the audience to go and subscribe to my channel. Because, well, I need to reach 150 subscribers, and then 250, and then 500, and so on. And I can't do it without your help. Also, that gives me a reason to spend hours upon hours pouring into these videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter, what is Dapper saying?
I mentioned earlier, Random Evo's a lot smarter than Kent Hovind, and Dapper says that's not saying much. He's smarter than most adults I know, so
That's very true.
I would fully agree with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you seem very competent in this area, Random Evo. And I suppose, do you want to do taxonomy professionally one day?
Yeah, probably.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. That's we need more people doing research and collecting data, because I was recently writing in the Rocks Volume 2, and one of the problems with with fossil groups is that you kind of get to a point with some of these groups where we have such a nice, fine transitional sequence that it becomes difficult to delineate um, the members of this. Are they one species? Are they another species? Are they one genus or a different genus? And we need more people like yourself to get in there and sort of help resolve these sorts of things.
Yeah, species itself is pretty fuzzy because you have ring species and all this stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you ever talk to Dan Cardinale, you should definitely ask him about species because he loves to talk about how fuzzy the species concept is.
You know what else is fuzzy? Kinds. Because, they basically have no definition tied to them whatsoever, besides some uh, pinging to the Linnaean ranks, which are arbitrary themselves. So, they're pinging it on nothing in a scientific sense.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I've had two debates in these last couple weeks, or two debates in 2 weeks, and one was with a young Earth creationist, and he wasn't really defending kinds. He was more, well, we were supposed to be having a debate on universal common ancestry, but it wasn't really that. It wasn't really about that. But in his model of kinds, I tried to get him to think about which organisms are in a kind. And every time I'd ask him, hey, are these two organisms related? He would say, I don't know. And then I had another debate with an intelligent design guy this past week, and I would ask him, hey, are these two things related? And he would say, I don't know. And I think part of the problem is, and I said this on Erica's after show, was that someone like you and Dapper and myself and Dan and RJ, all these people, all of us who are interested in biology, we like to do research. We like to read about these organisms and how they live and all this stuff. We like to become familiar with biodiversity. I don't think creationists care to become familiar with biodiversity. For them, it's
I don't really care about all the lowly organisms out there, like all the plants, all the invertebrates, that have their own deep rooted histories. No, they just care about a handful of tetrapods that are what they imagined as a child when they were sort of, you know.
yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, they're really only caring about dogs, cows, cats, because these, as you said, these are the things that are familiar to them as children, and they seem to sort of fit within these notions of kinds. If you don't really think about it too much, you don't really consider fossil data, you don't consider genetics, you just sort of look at the gross morphology of these things, and it sort of kind of works. But they're never going to just be interested in these things. They only care to support their tropes, their arguments. Because I don't think.
It's sad if they actually took a glance at the pure amount of biodiversity on Earth and tried to figure out how kinds could fit into there.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. you're right. They should.
Like they
They
sometimes
should.
say that when like E. coli evolved to metabolize citrate, oh, it's still bacteria, even though that bacteria are literally the most diverse group of organisms on the planet. So why creationists?
You're right. They are very highly diverse physiologically, and you're right. They're extremely diverse, and yet creationists rarely talk about them. It's you're right. It's just they're still bacteria. If any mutation happens in humans, well, they're still humans, or if a mutation happens in birds, well, they're still birds. Whatever. Um, which isn't technically wrong, but that's also how evolution works, right?
Yeah, the law of monophyly. One organism cannot outgrow its ancestry, and it will always be part of the groups that its ancestors belong to. So even though that chordates are now you know very diverse, they had a common ancestor that was sessile most of their life. However, one neotenic mutation caused all vertebrata to start moving again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah. You're referring to the our common ancestor with tunicates, right?
Yeah, tunicates, otherwise known as sea squirts. They're They sometimes look like sponges, but they're in the same phylum as vertebrates. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's that's another kind of strange thing, isn't it? We elephants and us and sea squirts were all in the same phylum. We're more closely related to sea squirts than sea squirts are, to octopus and flies and all other organisms.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. If you ever need help with any research uh, for your taxonomy videos, you can always contact me
Okay, good to know.
or any of the other cladistically minded people on YouTube. Uh,
I'm in good company, am I?
do what?
I'm in good company, right?
You should be. If we can't answer something, we can probably find you someone who can. Uh, the internet is a great place for making connections, and I've really only learned that in the past couple of years. Whereas I believe you're substantially younger than me, and you'll have a lot more time, you know, meeting people and making interactions this way than I did. So,
I kind of want to end the live stream now.
okay, yeah, we've been on for about 45 minutes or so. So, do you have any final thoughts that you
No,
want to give?
I just want to leave.
Okay. All right. Well,
Jackson, can I ask a random question before we end this?
sure.
Okay, yeah.
So, random. I'm really curious. How old are you?
Well, I'm not allowed to tell you that.
Oh,
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
okay.
Probably not a good idea.
So, but another question: where do you see your channel going in, let's say, a year?
I don't really know. Like,
You want to get more subscribers.
yeah.
We want to get you subscribers. So you hear that, everybody watching? Go subscribe to Random Evo Times channel so he can get more views and he can make more videos for us. And make sure to ask him to do more topics. So,
Exactly.
so thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Random Evo Times, for coming. It was a pleasure talking to you. Hope to talk to you more in the future. And so, have a nice night, everybody.
Bye bye.